We have Hitesh Oberoi joining us, Managing Director and CEO at Info Edge, who, of course, has a large recruitment business. Hitesh, great to have you with us here. Thank you very much for your time on CNBC TV 18. Prashant this side. So tell us, has the balance shifted in favor of companies? Has supply kind of overwhelmed demand because things have, on the demand side, maybe deteriorated a little bit? And second, how much are recruitment revenues as a percentage of your total business? Hitesh, go on.
Yeah, both the demand and attrition were off the charts for the last 7 quarters for most companies. That's, as you know, that's really good for our business. Of course, it's very hard because we're also trying to run an operation, but on the business side, Naukri was growing like a startup for a while now. Things are beginning to settle down a bit, but it's still very, very hard to hire good people. It's not easy to hire good people. People are becoming choosy. The startup scene has slowed down a little bit. But there are still a lot of opportunities out there in the market for the right people with the right skills. Every company wants to go digital. So, tech talent, digital talent continues to be in demand. Over the last 6 months, we also saw the offline economy open up once again. I mean, a lot of these companies, retailers, hospitality companies, travel companies, hotels, they had laid off people during COVID, but they're now sort of bouncing back and they're hiring in large numbers once again. So we are still not complaining, but yes, things are beginning to settle down. The market is not as hot as it was, maybe 2 quarters back.
So, Hitesh, tech hiring is what percentage of your recruitment business traditionally? And could you give us some sense of, over the last 7 quarters, what was the pace of growth there? And what is it likely to be now from here?
So tech stroke digital hiring is almost 50% of our revenue. And the share of tech hiring in our total revenue has increased over the last few years. It used to be 40-45% earlier. It's now over 50%. So Bangalore, Chennai, Hyderabad, these are primarily tech hiring markets. Pune to some extent, parts of Gurgaon and Noida as well. The share of these sort of geographies and this segment in our overall sort of business has increased over the last 8 quarters because the pace of digitization has increased globally, right? But like I said, it's tech talent is global, tech demand is global, and it's still not easy to hire tech people. There was a huge demand-supply mismatch for the last 8 quarters. It takes 4 years to churn out an engineer. So this demand-supply mismatch.
We get that. I mean, you said to find that right person, it's always hard, right? And maybe it's harder still now. But if you can give us some sense of what were growth rates looking like last many quarters, and what would it be now? Some idea.
So, last year, our India sort of hiring business grew by over 60%. In the first quarter of this year, we saw an acceleration. In fact, it grew by 80%, the domestic B2B India recruitment business. The second quarter, we haven't announced the results as yet, but there is a slowdown compared to the previous quarter, but we are still not complaining. It's still pretty solid.
It's interesting, right? I mean, hard to find people, not easy to hire. And then you have these concepts like, of course, we had the Great Resignation last year. Then you have quiet quitting.
Yeah.
I don't know whether it's a Gen Z, a younger generation thing where people are just, there's so much trauma after the pandemic. I mean, it's real. It can't be quantified, but it's showing up in the workforce as well. Hitesh, just wanted to ask you about, I mean, since this is, of course, a show which is more tuned towards what shareholders want, for your own business, right, your recruitment revenues was up 45% in FY22. So give us some numbers. Will FY23 be slower? Because that's something that another player like Teamly has also told us. What would the average growth look like for you?
See, FY23 Q1 was actually better than Q4 of last year. So till Q1, things were very, very rosy. Like I said, Q2 has slowed down a bit, but we're still not complaining. It's unclear how Q3 and Q4 will pan out. A lot will depend on what happens in the rest of the world. The IT market is not just indexed to the local economy, it's indexed to the global economy. It's even more indexed to the US economy than the rest of the world. So a lot will depend on what happens in the US. In the past, we have seen that India actually is the solution. Whenever there's a recession in the US, for a while you see a lull in hiring. But over time, more and more work is offshore to India. So if that happens this time around also, we may see a slight dip for a quarter or two, but in the long term, it may be good for Indian companies because more and more work will be outsourced to India because US companies will want to cut cost. So fingers crossed on what will happen going forward. Q1 was fantastic. It was even better than last year. Q2, we are not complaining.
I wanted to understand in other spaces like real estate, you have been making some investments. So what is your interest over there and what could the future look like for Info Edge?
Well, actually, the real estate market has turned around after a long time. It was in the doldrums. It was actually in the dumps, if you ask me, for the last 7-8 years for a variety of reasons. For the first time, after a long time, we are seeing prices go up in segments. We are seeing the rental market look up. Commercial real estate is coming back because companies are getting back to work. They're getting back to working from office. The demand-supply mismatch has corrected because not much construction activity took place during COVID. And as a result, the amount of unsold inventory in the market has gone down. And in pockets, there is no inventory. So after a long time, the market has tilted. It used to be a buyer's market earlier. It is no longer just a buyer's market. It's delicately balanced. Of course, one doesn't want prices to go up too much because if real estate becomes unaffordable, a lot of people will leave the market. So we are in a good space, I would say, in the real estate sort of space. Fingers crossed on what will happen going forward.
Hitesh, talk to us a little bit about the capital allocation, because you're putting money into, I think, AIFs, etc. as well, right? And yeah, so just a little bit on, and of course, you're putting in money in investee companies, adjacencies, 4B, etc. What's the thought process really, and what should we expect here?
No, you're absolutely right. See, the Naukri business is churning out a lot of cash. The Naukri business generated 1,000 crore of cash just last year, right? Of course, we lost money in some of the other verticals we are in, but the recruitment business is very, very profitable right now and growing rapidly as well. And we are aggressively investing in behind multiple initiatives. So inside the company, we have seeded a bunch of startups. We have a blue-collar platform, Job Hai, which we are now taking to other cities. We piloted it in Delhi. We're investing aggressively behind our real estate vertical behind our matrimony business. We acquired a dating site, Aisle, some time back. We've invested in, like you mentioned, adjacent areas. We've invested in Broker Network, which is a real estate sort of venture where they're trying to do things very differently and discover new business models as we speak. We have ventured into the study abroad market in our education business. We just upped our stake in Coding Ninja from 25% to 51%. The long-term plan is to sort of integrate deeply with Coding Ninja and transform Naukri from not just a job site, but into a career platform, which helps people find jobs and prepare for their job search, also not just find jobs. So there's a bunch of action. I mean, we have built a very high-quality data science and AI and machine learning team over the last few years, and they're working on a lot of good initiatives, which is helping us improve our core platform experience. So there's a lot of action, a lot of things we're investing behind. We acquired a few startups also, as you know, over the last few years, iimjobs, Hirist, Zwayam, DoSelect. We continue to invest aggressively. We have a financial investing plan. We have set up a couple of AIFs. These AIFs continue to invest behind new startups. We also continue to do follow-on investments in existing startups. So a lot of action at Info Edge. We're investing in a lot of areas. Hopefully some of these will yield good returns over a period of time.
And investing in these entities, startups via AIFs would be, instead of investing directly, the logic would be, these are for a certain number of years, lock in, so more discipline in that sense?
AIF is set up like a fund. Earlier, we used to invest. See, all the strategic investments, all the M&A, etc., is from our balance sheet. But all financial investing going forward is going to be through the AIF. Earlier, that was not the case. We had invested in Zomato and Policybazaar from our balance sheet. But now we have set up a fund structure. We have, and of course, the fund has a life, but it's a long life fund. It's 12 plus 2. And these are, the AIF is going to be basically investing behind, it's going to be making financial investments as opposed to strategic investments.
Okay, so will you be investing more in names like Coding Ninja? I mean, you spoke about that briefly. I think you made a 150 crore investment there or thereabouts. Any more that you're looking at?
So we've been partnering with Coding Ninja for a while. We started with a 25% stake. We've upped our stake to 51%. The idea, like I said, is to deeply integrate with their offerings and take them to more users on the Naukri platform over time. Like I said, we want to transform Naukri into a careers portal where we actually help people prepare for interviews, help them understand which skills are in demand, train them in these areas. And if this starts to work with Coding Ninja, of course, you would want to invest more and more over time.
All right, we'll leave it at that. Thanks a lot, Hitesh. All the best. That's the word coming in from InfoEdge about the several businesses. They say that hiring, it's very hard to find good people. Hiring has slowed down a bit, and I guess that's showing up in their stock price as well. InfoEdge has been under pressure for a while.